On January the 25th, 1969, the unit begins shooting a variation on the required car chase, with a driving unit supervised by Erich Glavitza.
The ice was so good, so skiddy, that it was marvelous.
It's hard to drive on ice, I found out.
But once you get in that car, and you know it doesn't matter how much you damage the car, and you're going to skid and fly all over the place, you enjoy it. It's wonderful.
Every possible detail had now been worked out. Briefing was complete, and technicians, stars, and drivers moved into position for the final call. Action.
Welcome, everybody, to the Really 007 podcast. I'm Thomas Pickup, and we're chatting with a man who helped create one of the many iconic scenes in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I'm here with Erich Glavitza, who coordinated the breathless car stop sequence in Switzerland, which, of course, sees Tracy driving her and Bond to safety away from Blofeld's goons. And what an amazing sequence that is, and we'll be chatting about that shortly. Now, if you're new to our channel, you can watch all our other interviews here on YouTube. You can also listen to them. And we've got far more episodes, such as reviews and things like that, on iTunes and Spotify. So please subscribe, and then you'll get notified when new episodes come out. And we look forward to sharing new ones with you. We're also on social media, so Facebook, X, Instagram, and you can chat with us there and chat with people like Erich as well, I believe. So yes, Erich, I believe you're chatting to us all the way from Vienna in Austria.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm born in Styria. That's a county in the middle of center of Austria, quite in the middle of the mountains. But I changed to Vienna, I think 1961, something like this. I studied engineer, and much later at the university, evolutionary theories and stuff like this. And but in those days, in the 60s, I was actually racing. And in those days, you must imagine you could only get the driving license in Austria, those in Germany, with 18 years. And so all racing drivers, even Jochen Rindt and Helmut Marko and the guys at my age, I started in rally driving in 1965, something like this. So I was at least 23 years old. I mean, nowadays they start with 13 years. But the girls are now with 13 years getting babies, not in our days. So I started rally driving in 1965 with a board at Volkswagen, and it was quite fast. So I got from Volvo, Austria, I got a Volvo, and then started at the rally down in Monaco, but not the Monte Carlo rally. It was a rally 3 days before the Formula One Grand Prix. So it was press conference and stuff, and I won this rally. And after I won this rally, I got then NSU cars and so on. So I ended up actually in the Citroën car. And now we're making the corner to the 007 story. I was quite good with, it was a works car from Citroën from France. And I had a major accident in Romania at the Danube Castrol rally, which was a rally for the European Championship. And I crashed into a gate, into a locomotive and fire and the whole stuff. And the funny luck was at the gate where I crashed, also Pauli Toivon, and he was in front of me, hit the gate because there was no lamp in the center of Romania. I mean, it was very rural country in those days. He hit the gate and he punched off the little lamp on the gate because there were no shields warning in front of the gate. And when I came, the lamp was gone and it was heavy pouring rain, and they saw the gate much too late and they hit the gate. So it scalped our Citroen car and they hit the locomotive and stuff like this. And near this rail station, there was standing the chief editor of the German rally magazine, Rally Racing, who was quite a fan of mine. Because you must imagine in those days, Paddy Hopkirk and from England and all the guys, they were much older than we were. So we were actually in those days boys. And there was this chief editor of the magazine, of the periodical Rally Racing, German magazine, and he saw the accident. And he was quite a fan of mine because at some special stages we made best times on the Citroen, which was quite spectacular. And at the same time, Harry Saltzman and Broccoli planned the 007 project on a Majesty Secret Service in Switzerland. But originally in the book, there was a story that there was a horse race. You know, like in Switzerland, they have on ice, with sledge and horse and stuff like this. But in these end 60s, there were just coming movies with car racing. There was a French car racing with Trintignant, I think a man and woman and Grand Prix film, of course, was just coming into the cinemas. So car racing films were becoming very popular. Because before there weren't any car racing films. There were Western and stuff like this and crime, but no car racing. And Harry Saltzman said to Hubert Fröhlich, he was the production manager, and he told him, we don't want to have this horse race, we will have a car race. Yeah, make car race on ice. And Harry Saltzman, a very powerful, a billionaire, and but a very nice man. And so Hubert was calling friends because there were no stunt drivers. Because in those days, you have cascadeurs, stuntmen, falling down from house roofs, falling down from horses, everything, but they couldn't drive a race car. Nobody of them.
No.
So Hubert Fröhlich was calling in Germany for stuntmen who had any idea about the racing. And couldn't find. And by accident, he called the chief editor of Rally Racing. And I forgot his name, actually. Now, yeah, his name was Klein. And he called him and said, we need a guy who's making for movie accidents. And Klein told him, I know an idiot in Vienna who can do this. And he's having even fun crashing cars. So Hubert Fröhlich called me in Vienna, and it was very funny because I went into an office of a friend of mine, and he told me, there's a phone call for you, just came in from James Bond. And they said, yes, I know, come on, shut up. But then he gave me the telephone number, and I saw it was a Swiss number. Then from the where you dial. And then I thought maybe it's Steinemann from a magazine, Power Slide, or it was Joseph Seppi Siffert, who was quite a famous Formula One driver in those days. It was a close friend of mine. And so I thought one of these guys, and I dialed the number, and then someone picked up and he said, yes, EON Film Production, I remember. And they will connect me, you know? And then they connected me with Hubert Fröhlich. He was from Hamburg, a German, production director, and he also was in charge of The Great Escape. You know
Yeah,
this?
of course.
Yeah, he was quite famous in this business. And Howard said, he couldn't speak normal. He was just only shouting. And he said, can you roll a car? Then? And, you know, I was young and always happy, girls, funny, you know. They said, how often do you want, man? And then he was quiet, man. And they say, okay, they will call me next day. And really next day, 7 o'clock in the morning, I remember, they called me and they said, yes, and they explained me what they want. They want to make an ice race. The ice track. Do I know how to build an ice track? They said, yes, of course, because we have many ice races in Austria. It's no problem. An oval, I could, we build an oval, and then making accidents, and I have to organize cars. And they said, oh, okay, how much? They said 5. So I thought about some rally friends of mine, and then I had a Mini Cooper. I remember with a Holby racing engine in there, you know, the Mini, you remember?
Yeah.
110 horsepower and was noisy, unbelievable. And it said, okay, I have a Mini Cooper, a friend of mine, a Volkswagen, he has 2 Volkswagen, so 5 cars, no problem. But 2 days later, they called me again, and they said, no, they need 10 cars. 10 cars, okay, but maybe more. And then came the next funny story. I remembered that I met Walter Hayes. Walter Hayes was the general director, the top of Ford England. And I met him with Jochen Rindt at the Race of Champions in Brands Hatch. And Jochen and Walter Hayes was, you know, like Henry Ford. He was top of the top. I called him. Yeah, this is Erich Glavitza. Do you remember me? I met you in at Brands Hatch in May, but I was calling him in October. And he was very polite, and I said, well, this guy must be crazy. And he said, yes, of course, I remember you. But then I told him the story. I said that I got a job from EON Film Production, from the Pinewood Studios. EON Film Production was the producer of James Bond in those days, Broccoli Salzman. And I said, I would need cars for this James Bond film. No? And you know, I was going to the headquarters, was picking up a chauffeur in London Heathrow, and they reserved a ticket first class, Vienna, London. And I think the chauffeur expected some old man, some general director, and then he saw a boy in jeans. And then he brought me to the headquarters. I was going up to the lift to Walter Hayes, and I told him this story. And I remember him, he was with his pipe, was sitting there, and, oh, sit down, Eric, and how are you, and so on. And then I said, how many cars do you want? And I said, right now, it's, but they called me again, it must be 15. Yeah. I would like to take escorts. And I thought the escort, because in those days, just the escort came out. Because then after he was asking me, but why did you choose Ford Motor Company? No? And I told him, no, because I like Ford. Because I could have done it with Fiat or General Motors, because I was completely free. But I chose the Ford Escorts. And then, this was very important, Walter Hayes said to me, you can have as many escorts as you like. And first, but it's stupid if we have to bring the cars from England to Vienna, you know, because I have to do a paint job, put on studded tires and stuff like this. And then he said, I could get the cars from the I don't know, probably in England, the custom-free zone. Do you know? Because in those days, there were not European free trade. On the custom-free zone, I could take out as many escorts as I want.
Wow.
And in those days, then actually we needed 20 escorts. So, okay. Then I met in London, but I can't remember when it was, 2 boys which were in the marketing department, because we were going out in the evening then together to bars and girls and everything. They were in charge of Avon tires. And in those days, Avon only was making tires for motorcycles, okay? And they just started to make tires for cars. And I told them, if you want, I can bring you to the James Bond film with tires. No? And said, yeah, yes, of course, you can have as many tires as you want. I said, okay, we have 25 cars, multiplied by 4. This means 100 tires. No problem. You can have 100, 200. No, I said 100 tires is okay. And then I called a friend from my rally days in Sweden. It's Carson. And he was also my age. And I said, yeah, I have to do the James Bond film, and I would need spikes, spikes for the tires, because we were running on plain ice, like an ice hockey track. Because every day they had 2 ice machines there, and they were preparing the track for every day. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we had an ice hockey ice area from the quality here. No? So I needed spikes. And I told him, I forgot his name. I said, yeah, I would need spikes. And we would put stickers on the car, no problem. And you can also come and bring some Swedish girls and stuff like this. And I said, okay, I have 100 tires, and per tire, 1,000 spikes.
Wow.
1,000. Yeah, because you must imagine it was an ice skating area. So you cannot go only with spikes. You have in ordinary traffic when it's a bit snow in Vienna. You have really strong spikes. So we multiplied 100 tires with 1,000 spikes, and this came by aeroplane. They sent it to me. And then I found a guy who was at that time the general distributor of BLMC, British Leyland Motor Corporation in those days, for Austin and Morris.
Yes.
He was a distributor in Zurich. His name was Frey, my age. We're still talking something when I'm in Zurich. We meet together. And then he said, okay, I have someone in the workshop who is shooting the spikes in your tires. So we sent 100,000 spikes to Frey in Zurich, 25 cars, and stuff like this, and tires, and from Avon coming by aeroplane. It was unbelievable. In those days, I was 27 years old. The only thing I was really concentrating was on girls. But I got this business done, and finally, then with all my friends, and we were driving these 25 cars to Zurich. Friends and girlfriends and everyone I knew was sitting in the car, and we drove it to Zurich to Frey, and he was preparing the tires, and we were going to Lauterbrunnen. And I remember I was quite very often there when they were building the ice track.
Winter strikes hard in Lauterbrunnen, alpine site for a film sequence of car racing on ice, an action-packed sequence that is the essence of a James Bond movie. A man-made ice track ringed with lights was created for the picture On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Start of October, because this was the first TAP rally, the TAP rally, Portugal. And I was driving this TAP rally for Citroën, starting from Vienna, and 4,000 kilometers long. And on the way home, I told them I will stop my car at Lauterbrunnen, at Interlaken, Switzerland, and to meet them the first day, and then we can discuss it. And I said, okay, fine. I was driving the rally. It was 4,000 kilometers long. Yeah. After this rally, I was driving with the car alone because my co-driver had to fly to Vienna. I was driving alone with my Citroën to Switzerland. And then I was calling them from Interlaken that I'm here and so on. And then I was with a cable car up to Mürren. Mürren is a very famous village. Up there, and there was the headquarters actually at the station of the cable car in Mürren. There was the headquarters, the office of the whole James Bond thing. Lazenby there, Telly Savalas, and then these 5 or 7 girls, stuff like this. Now, the climate was not very positive actually, because Lazenby was always getting grossed up with Diana Rigg, and there was a lot of and Harry Saltzman, he was nearly punching him.
Whoa.
Yeah, they throw him out actually after the film. Because Lazenby, it was the only, because actually they were planning with him 5 Bond films. But after this on a Majesty Secret Service, he made an interview on a TV station that it is not very fashionable, James Bond, the time is over, and rubbish like this. And then Broccoli and Saltzman throw him out. Because at the press conference after the film in New York and in London, there was only Telly Savalas and Diana Rigg.
Right, oh yes.
The Hunt, of course, no Lazenby. He was out.
So did you see a lot of the tension on Switzerland?
I mean, it was big, because really Diana Rigg is one of my most favorite ladies I ever met in my life.
Oh, that's good.
She was so charming. And Erich, show me the drive, and we had a lot of fun.
Right, clear up. Let's clear up back.
Gorgeous girls have always been part of James Bond's hectic life, and Tracy Bond, this time he actually marries the girl, was played by Diana Rigg. The ice chase sequence called for some hair-raising driving by this talented actress.
And Lazenby was very impolite. He was telling the journalist that he doesn't like to kiss her because she's smelling of garlic. I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, so and actually they were not together there, at the shooting place in Lauterbrunnen. And she was really fantastic. I mean, Diana Rigg was great. We had the organizer in Mürren of the cable car was making a party, 50-year James Bond, 2024, 5 years ago.
Yes. Oh yeah. Did you go to that?
We were all invited.
Yeah.
And Lazenby also, but he was drinking. He was drunk from 11 o'clock in the morning. I mean, he was so drunk, you must imagine. They made a big party at the top of Schildhorn.
Yes.
And we were all going up, the girls and guys from the staff. And he was so drunk that at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they had to go down with a cable down with him, because he was laying on the floor. It was unbelievable. And so the party was without Lazenby.
Film director Peter Hunt held many screen tests in his search for a new James Bond. He described his choice, George Lazenby, as a natural for the part with that rare sense of star quality.
I was going to Mürren, met Hubert Fröhlich, I remember, and then I was very tired coming from Portugal. I mean, this was around 2,000 kilometers away, and I was driving in one without any interruption, just fuel up and eat some garbage and then driving there. And next day, Hubert, I remember I was going to Hubert in his office where the cable station is. And then I said, I was just flying through this book. I was, it's no problem. Let's make a racetrack, an oval, ice. I told Hubert he should hire these ice machines from an ice hockey club from Interlaken. And they would make, and I will organize car and everything. And then he said to me, I remember, Hubert, German, loud, always shouting. He could not speak normal. Was saying, okay, let's go to Salzmann. And I was very tired, and I said, but Mr. Fröhlich, you are the manager of production. What shall we talk to Salzmann? It's not necessary. I mean, we just made an agreement. I go to Vienna because I have to organize now the cars and everything. Huh? And then I remember who had said, yeah, it's okay, but we have to see Salzman. And I said to him, why Salzman? Who is Salzman? Who the hell is that? And he was shouting a bit. He was coming, this Austrian with holes in his shoes and then old trousers and stinking and was asking, who is Salzman? So we went to the office and he was very friendly. It was a small man, stocky, like he reminded me to a wrestler, actually. Yeah. And also, his look and so on. And he said, okay, what do you think? How do you? I said, okay, we need an ice track. And then we will roll cars and whatever you want. No problem. And I remember he said, he jumped from his chair, said, okay, let's go. And so we went outside, and there was a small helicopter from NV Agusta, the Italian builder. They are making also the famous Agusta motorcycles, but major business are helicopters. So there was this little helicopter, the pilot, Salzburg, let's get in. And then we went, there's this steep rock wall from Mürren down to Lauterbrunnen. He went straight down. And then we were walking on a very wet grass area, which was very muddy. And then Salzman said, "Okay, here, how do you imagine to make a racetrack?" So we cut off some twigs from bushes and trees, and they put them in the area, and said, "Okay, an oval about that wide, a corner on the counter straight, we make a chicane, and here paddock, and so, and we put these twigs into the mud." And I remember when we were ready, his shoes, these were tailored shoes, of course, very expensive, costing more than a normal saloon car. He was looking down; they were full of mud. Even his trousers were full of mud. And then I thought, maybe he's going to kill me. And he was looking up to me, was smiling. "Good job, son," he said. Yeah. Then we were flying up, and then I said, "Okay, well, I'm going home." And then I organized. Then in the meantime, the cars came from England to this custom-free area in Salzburg. Then we transported the cars to Vienna. They started to put starting numbers on it, and they are looking like race cars. Also modifications on the exhaust.
The sequence is planned to bring the action from the stars' escape from their enemies into a complete involvement in an ice race, a further pursuit, and a hurried, chaotic exit. Hunt saw much of the action in big close-ups and demanded a high degree of skill and imagination from his technicians, particularly in building the special camera mounts for the cars.
The total shooting lasted, I remember, around 4 weeks.
Wow.
4 or 5 weeks. I mean, people who don't know how the film business goes, they say, "What, so long?" Because it's only 3 minutes. But what normal people don't know, that it's very, I mean, I must imagine when we were shooting on one evening, around after midnight, they were transporting the film material to Switzerland. From Switzerland, it was flying to London. There they were developing it. And after 3 days, it was coming back. And in the evening, we were looking about the shooting from 4 days ago. It was the same like in a Le Mans film with Steve McQueen then. And then suddenly the director says, "No, the light is not correct." Because the smoke was going over some of the lights, and it was too dark, or I want to cut more in the left, more in the right, or the camera in the car, it's too dark or too bright, whatever. And we have to do it all again. Therefore, these things last an eternity, actually. And I think we were 4 weeks we were there. It was just interrupted because in between there was some heavy snowfall.
Yeah.
We had overnight some 4 or 5 feet snow, and until it was all cleaned, we could then proceed. There was lots of driving and rolling cars, but this was not so. not so. I mean, you cannot equalize it with Le Mans, because for the Le Mans picture, I made the accidents in really speed. I mean, 200 miles an hour. And James Bond, what, 40, 60 miles, something like this. It was not so very bad. No? Then we flipped the Mercedes. The Mercedes I flipped, and the Escort and stuff like this. You know.
Which ones are you in? Which cars are you in that we can see on the screen?
Well, actually, I was in old cars. No?
Yeah.
I was in the Cougar. In the Cougar, I was as Tracy.
Yes, yeah.
Didn't I send you some pictures where I was dressed up as Tracy?
You sent me one picture of you showing Diana Rigg how to drive, but I've not had the one of you dressed up as Tracy.
Yes, I can send this to you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Erich, I'm fanboying
you see
everywhere.
Me just talking. You just see me talking, standing. I think near my partner Peter Hoover, and I think the director Peter Hunt. Together with Peter Hunt, and just leaning at the Cougar, at the driver's door, and with a fur hat on and with a fur coat. I will send this to you, okay?
Thank you very much.
This was Peter Hunt's first assignment as director, but work on 5 previous 007 pictures made him an acknowledged expert on the James Bond scene. First editor, then second unit director on earlier Bond pictures, Peter Hunt had the task of coordinating 120 technicians, big crowd scenes, and the massive detail that is one sequence of a movie shot on an epic scale.
Erich, can I ask, what was it like to work with Peter Hunt, the director?
Yeah, very fantastic. He was very good.
There had to be a close working relationship between Erich Glavitza and Peter Hunt, working out very precise maneuvers and explaining them to the drivers to give the director the maximum in dramatic film effects.
Red, give me Feckle Mile.
Talking with my drivers was really one of the most important things in the film, because I had to tell them all what exactly to do. In film business, it's not like racing. It always depends on the distance from the camera to the car, and this distance have to be very exact. And so we talked very much about it, discussed all detail, and every driver gets from me an order what line he has to drive and at what time he has to come into it to ram the other drivers. That must be very exactly, and all the angles and speeds and the distances must be very exactly worked out.
Le Mans was a different story, because there we had first John Sturges as director.
Yeah.
And I got very close to him, because I love to listen to him, to his stories from Magnificent Seven and all the films he was making, and with all the backside stories. And he actually found in me a guy who was listening. So every evening he was telling me the stories. No? But then he got crossed up with Steve, and then got the big change to Lee Katzin, and then the whole thing was crap, actually. But Peter Hunt was a very elegant director, and I mean, you must imagine that we were a team of 6 drivers or 7, whatever, and myself, and then Willy Neuner and another guy who were the mechanics, who had to prepare the cars, because sometimes we had for the next shooting day, we need some changes on the car, or building cameras on the side or cameras on the inside and stuff like this. And I, as the leader of the pack, actually, I had to be after the shooting, after midnight, because the shooting started always at 7 p.m. until midnight.
Yeah. Wow.
And but it has many -35, -40 centigrade.
Yeah.
Unbelievable cold. Really, it was terrible.
Night after freezing night, the drama of the chase sequence was put on film. With the temperature at 30 degrees below 0 centigrade, another background army was at work supplying an endless catering service of hot drinks, soup and food to the actors, drivers and technicians.
We were warming up with tea and whiskey in it and stuff like this. And after the shooting, I had to stay there. My guys went to the hotel. I had a hotel where we all stayed, and I was staying with the staff, because we had a conference after shooting and what's going on tomorrow.
Yes.
So this meeting was lasting till 1:30 around. Yeah, because there were the cameraman, there were 3-4 cameramen, Peter Hunt, his assistant, and script girls and whatever, you know, and myself, and then we decided what we were going to do the next day.
Yeah.
No? So it was quite busy actually, but I loved it very much. And we were very close actually, the whole team. There was one funny story actually you would like. You know, at 4 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I all had my guys coming and we were running in the ice because the ice was fresh. And we were just running it at the medium speed so that we can, for the shooting, can have drive very exact lines.
Yeah.
Not just sliding stupid around. So because the cameras were on the ice laying and so on, you have to be very exact. And when we were running in, I saw a guy standing there watching us, an English guy. So I said whether he would like to go with me in the car, you know, when we make fun. And he said, yes, of course. And he was limping. So I said, did you also break your leg here on the ice? Because there were two English crew members who broke their arms, lower arms, on the ice, falling down and stuff like this. And I said, did you break your leg on the ice? He said, no. I said, no, what happened? A helicopter chopped my leg off. I said, what? Helicopter chopped your leg off? What the hell? And he was cameraman at the James Bond film. You know this better than me. I think the Hong Kong stuff.
Yes.
Yeah? Were they doing the helicopter? I mean, he also did the helicopter flying at our film, you know, hanging from the helicopter with the camera. And but at the Hong Kong thing, he told me he started to sway. The shooting was just over, and suddenly he came with his leg into the rotor of another helicopter, and it chopped his leg off.
Was he called John Jordan? Was that his name?
That's right, John Jordan.
Yeah,
John Jordan. So I said no, and then every day when I was running in the track, he was going with me, and we were writing. And then, you know, when I had to go to Pinewood Studios to look at the shots, and so we were telephoning and so on. And then all of a sudden, I think it must have been after Le Mans, or I'm not sure. I remember, and it was very sad, that his wife was calling me, and he said that he got killed.
Yeah.
Oh. And he said, well, why? And he said, yes. And you know, she was in tears, and me also, because he was close to me. And they were shooting for, I think, Catch 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but the story then told me one guy from the Pinewood Studios. He was shooting out of where the bombs are flying out in the B-25, okay, the Mitchell bomber, the American two-engine bomber. You have this, we say, Bombenschacht. You know, the hole where you're dropping off the bombs.
Yes. And
he was filming it, complete on harness, of course, how these bombs are getting, you know, because they were like this and dropping out of this channel. And he was filming it. And then he was ready. And then the pilot said, okay, finish, so we can fly back. He said, yes. And he took his harness off.
Oh.
And there was a small turbulence, and he dropped. So the...
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you don't really hear these stories anymore. Of
terribly.
A long time ago, but...
Yes, it was... the whole thing was a long time ago. I was 28 years old.
That's awful. That's really bad, isn't it?
So sad.
He was actually not so much involved with us. They were just coming down. Everybody, because we needed spectators.
Yes.
Anyway, so they Hubert Fröhlich brought in some school classes and girls and boys, whoever, and they made the spectators. Yeah. Girls, I remember one afternoon there was a Dutch girl, very pretty Dutch girl, was coming and asking me whether I know someone here, because she would like to work as a freelance stunt girl or whatever. And I said, "You met the right man."
Yeah.
I was going to ask, because the cars obviously get quite close to the spectators. I kind of assumed they were stunt performers themselves, not just
but
guests,
this girl, I needed, when you remember when Tracy was driving the Cougar from the road.
Yes.
When James Bond said, "Take this cross down to the track," no? And she was coming off the main road down to the racetrack, and the people who were jumping away.
Blinds it on! We didn't even stop for the prize.
Yes, she was one of these girls.
Oh, wow.
And after that, she was jumping with me.
Oh, right.
Well, fair enough.
A good time.
It was a great time, really. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And the Cougar, we had three Mercury Cougars.
Yeah.
All around 500-600 horsepower, much too powerful, because I think there were 6 or 7 liter engines in there. The Mercury Cougar was actually built from a Ford branch, Mercury, actually before the Mustang, but it wasn't so successful. Then the Mustang was then the major against the Chevrolet Camaro. No? But anyway, we had this Cougar, and we had 3 Cougars. One was in the Pinewood Studios, where they had built up this little hut in the mountain, where they drive in, and then they were kissing and But this was made in the Pinewood Studios.
Right.
And there they had 1 Cougar, and we had actually 2 Cougars standing. 1 Cougar which had to stay clean.
Yeah.
And the other Cougar, we crashed on the side.
Oh.
But not so heavy, just a little bit. Huh? Yeah. But it got a little dent in the doors, but nothing really bad. Huh? Yeah. But there was also a funny story, because one afternoon, Hubert said, "Erich, Diana, Miss Rick would like to go to Interlaken. She wants to buy a gift." Because I thought her husband is coming, but it's wrong. Her boyfriend came. I'm not sure whether she was married, but with that guy, he was very nice, but he was not married to her. So I said, okay. And I said to her, "Diana, come on, let's go." And I took the Cougar, which was not bent.
Oh, amazing.
Of course, the clean one. So I just said, "Come on in," and started the engine, and we were going down to Interlaken. And then Interlaken, in those days, it actually consisted just of a large number of watch shops, like Switzerland. And so she went into one of these shops. The owner went crazy, of course, when he saw her. And then she was, I think she was looking for a Hoyer sport watch.
Oh yeah,
for her boyfriend. And then she got this watch, and then we went into a conditorei, into a coffee shop, and we're eating some cake, and people were coming. She had to sign autographs and stuff like this. And then after we were driving back home. I was driving in the car, like in those days, I couldn't drive slow. I was just, and then some cars were coming the opposite way, yeah? And then Diana said suddenly, Erich, by the way, what's the difference? Because those cars and our car. And at first I thought this is a stupid question. They are cars, and I mean, what should be different? No? And I said, why? What's the difference? Because they have number plates. I said, yes. And she said, but we not. Because I idiot didn't look, this car was parked for days. Nobody touched this car and had no license plate on it. Of course not. And I was not looking, and I thought, like I know everything, like Jesus. Went into the car, and then all of a sudden, I was very afraid because the Swiss police is very famous to be absolutely humorless.
Right.
I was very afraid that they are going to catch me, but we were lucky. We were going in. I remember. Yeah.
Diana Rigg brought to the star role a vivacious sense of fun and excitement, mark of a versatile actress. Established in television and theatre, the part of Tracy brings her to the forefront of today's film personalities.
Whilst obviously you did the vast majority of the stunt, with the picture of you teaching Diana in how to drive in the Mercury, what kind of stuff did you have to do with her there? Was it just for some basic camera shots, or did she do any basic driving herself?
Yeah, on ice, she
not on the ice, clearly.
It was really, I mean, it has nothing to do, but if you're not experienced on really ice hockey, ice quality, I mean, skating quality, it's stupid if I would say she's not a good driver. Of course she was.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Cougar with 500-600 horsepower was actually the least suitable for driving on ice. I mean, whatever tires you have on, because this was an automatic car, and and had so much horsepower that suddenly you always had spinning wheels, But of course, in those days it wasn't a problem for me, Wow. And the Escorts, the Escorts were ideal cars because of their suspension and wheelbase to track, and it was very good to drive, and yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Amazing.
We were boys, and
yeah, you James Bond. You're on a James Bond film.
Absolutely.
Yes. Bond film. I mean, it was unbelievable. There is a small film production from Ford Motor Company sponsored. It's called Shot on Ice.
Yes, we have seen that.
Have you seen?
Brilliant.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And the director was a guy you see on the end, Clive Davidson, and the whole crew. It belonged actually to Ford Motor Company, because the Ford Motor Company wanted 1 or 3 sort of industrial films, Ford engines, but not in cars, outside of the usual car business, like Ford engines in the Northern Sea and Ford engines in the forest of Brazil and Ford engines at James Bond film.
Oh.
And this was a young crew who were producing these films. And Clive Davidson, he had a very nice flat on the north side of Hyde Park. And at that time, the fashion models were in the majority coming from Scandinavia. Yeah. There was plenty of Swedish girls and Finnish girls, and we were going in and out of this flat north of Hyde Park. I had a key. And because then I raced actually after this then in England a while, Mallory Park and Brands Hatch, Ford Escort and so on. And that was Mick Jagger.
Oh,
I can't get no
satisfaction. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, you've clearly lived the lifestyle from this film.
One of the key figures on the scene was Erich Glavitza, young Austrian rally driver for the Ford team. Brought in to advise on building the ice track, he supplied escort cars, drivers, and briefed all concerned on handling a bunch of fast cars on ice with cameras turning in all directions.
When Diana Rick came to Switzerland, she came straight from London. She went straight across to the racing track because she had to drive the film in Rio, the Mercury Cougar, and that's quite a lot, especially for an unexperienced driver, being now in race speed and on an ice track. And I learned her to drive this on ice. First I took a Ford Escort because this car is much easier to drive and easier to handle and to keep in control around corners. I took her for about 3 laps and learned her all about throwing a car into a corner, then with the opposite lock and driving with the accelerator. But I think she took this stuff all in a very short time. She's a lovely driver, really.
Can I ask about the black Mercedes? You know,
the black Mercedes was actually used for sometimes picking up people from the airport from Zurich, Kloten.
Oh, okay.
But then we used it to roll it.
Yes.
Yeah? And the thing was actually, when you remember, this was the left-hand corner on the south side, and
right.
what I did is, you know, we had this barrier around.
Yeah.
A wooden barrier, and in those parts, I made a small part of it, but with the same paint, out of plywood.
Oh, okay.
Plywood, okay. And behind the plywood, I built in a wedge.
Yeah.
A wedge 5 inches wide and coming up behind the barrier. You can imagine?
Yeah.
And I had a little sign I could see, because, you know, during the scene, we made this banging and with Diana Rick sometimes doing this and that. And then the Blofeld, the bad guy, Mercedes, were coming close, you know, with a German woman in there, close to the Cougar, and there was a shooting going on, but this was very often made at the Pinewood Studios.
Yes, yeah.
And the final thing was that actually my one of my drivers, Peter Huber, was hitting me. I was in the Mercedes.
Yeah.
He was hitting me, and I made a mark in the plywood barrier.
Yeah.
So I know I have to hit it with the right front wheel, and so I hit it, and then it came up and rolled on the roof.
Oh.
But this 50 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour is harmless.
But what I find fascinating with that scene is that once it's flipped, it then explodes, doesn't it?
Yeah, but this was completely rubbish. This was typical film. The same is you know, in the Pinewood Studios, I was sitting with Broccoli and Salzman, and we were looking at slides from the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a scene where you surely remember where James Bond was telephoning.
Yeah.
Yes. In the village.
And then they were shooting, and he was running to the Cougar and into Diana Rick, and then they were driving off.
Yes.
And then he was jumping in, and then the car was driving away. And I said to Salzman, said, but this is stupid. Why? Because in the snow and in the ice, tires never whistle. You know, it's like, okay, don't do it. And he was looking at me, you know, with a serious look at Erich, you are the only one who knows that. And that's true. Yeah. I mean, I've seen this in Vienna. I told this my friends, nobody was reacting, because it was clear that this car was accelerating on the snow road.
Yeah.
And it will never whistle. Only when you stand there with the whistle and you go, you won't do it.
Well, that's the difference between...
Not my girlfriends, whatever. No. They said, what are you talking about? And I said, this is rubbish. Like Bullet with Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
He's losing 5 or 6 these wheel covers.
Yeah.
No, nobody's recognized it.
On that point, though, Erich, the cinema goer expects to hear certain sounds. It doesn't mean they're correct. It's just that's what you'd think it would be.
Yeah, this sound shooting. I mean, you know, the cut man and the film producer, they know all these tricks, and they actually know what you as spectator are expecting and what you are not expecting. I mean, when you are in the action, you have done it. You said that's ridiculous, because no tire will whistle in the snow, and they are looking at you, and they don't even know what you're talking about, man.
What did you think, Eric? When you saw the final version, what did you think of the editing style? And was John Glenn? Did you meet him?
Yeah, I mean, in those days during the James Bond film, I actually didn't know anything about movie making. I mean, it was completely new what I saw.
Yeah.
But I liked it very much, and I have maybe this sort of fantasy or creativity in my head that I could imagine it, because they were always, before they had me 2 or 3 times per week flying to London to meetings.
Wow.
But at the majority of the meeting, I was there for nothing, but they just wanted me to be there. If some question was coming up,
yes,
that I will be there. And so I learned actually a lot. And at the Steve McQueen film a year later in Le Mans, I knew actually what to expect.
Yeah.
And after that, I did some more movies in Austria, crime, even as a dead man in a bath tube and stuff like this. But it was not really Hollywood or EON film production. It's a different world. It's a different world. I mean,
but you've got to be happy with how On Her Majesty's Secret Service ended up, because it's one of the greatest James Bond films there is.
I mean, with Telly Savalas, I met Telly Savalas later on in New York.
Oh,
wow!
Man. Unbelievably friendly. Yeah, they were shooting one of these crime films, I think even at 4 o'clock in the morning, because you cannot shut off a road in New York.
Yeah.
They're looking at you whether you have fever. Yeah? and you have to be at 4 o'clock. And they have to start, and not the whole traffic goes on. And I met him once there. Steve McQueen, I felt a little bit sorry, because I was very often in Los Angeles. We were telephoning quite often, and always said, yeah, when I'm coming back from shooting from somewhere, Australia or whatever, then we will meet. And then I wasn't there, and he was dead.
Yeah.
Because I was quite. He gave me a motorcycle. He gave me a Husqvarna 400 motocross.
Wow.
In summer, for 2 months, I couldn't even kickstart this motocross bike, because I was afraid it's going to break my leg. But then I practiced very much, and then I started a motocross career in 71.
Yeah.
And yes, I was even driving then at World Championship races. And then ISTT, the 6 days I did. I was in motorcycle racing. Actually, from the film movie money, I opened up a business as Kawasaki General Distributor in Austria.
Oh, wow.
But I had only a distributorship, not a dealership. I had dealers, but I had only the distributorship. I sold it in 95.
Yeah. That was all because you had the Bond film.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. The Bond film was actually a major step in my life.
Yeah.
Because before I was more or less just surviving life as a journalist for the Austrian newspaper, and then rally driving. But in those days, you didn't get any money.
Right. Okay.
Because I remember after the Bond film, in January 70, I was meeting Jochen Rindt at the Konditorei, at the coffee shop in Vienna in the center. And Eric, how are you? Yeah, everything okay? And I said, yeah, I'm just thinking about a new project, Le Mans, with Steve McQueen. And then he said, how much money did you get for the Bond film? And I said, in German marks, in pounds, in US dollars, a large amount. Because I said it was 1.6 million Austrian shillings, whatever, unbelievable. And I remember he was drinking coffee, was coming up with a how much did you get? And he said 1.6, and the camera. What? Because in those days, the Formula One drivers did actually getting no money.
Right.
Yeah, you must imagine when they were winning. I mean, the US Grand Prix with Jochen actually won. Watkins came with $50,000 was the largest sum they ever got.
Yeah.
Because in those days, in the 60s, Formula One drivers, they got killed for nothing, actually. No? Because it was also just the years when you imagine that before the drivers were coming only from very rich families.
Yes, yeah.
Counts and stuff, like Italian counts and stuff like this. Yeah? And so it changed a little bit, but it's still car races. I mean, if you're not a billionaire, just forget it, you know.
Yeah.
So, but and they were driving for nothing, actually. You know, they got burned to death for poor chap.
Yeah.
He was unlucky. No? That was it about. No? I was pretty close to Jim Clark, when you remember.
Oh yeah.
I remember when he got killed at Hockenheim. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Were you a fan of the Bond films before you were even out?
Ursula Andress.
Yes,
yeah. Well,
of course.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I met her many years. Well, it must have been 10 years ago or something like this, even 2000. So. I mean, and I was very, because she's a very old lady and very small, actually.
Yeah, they always are, aren't they? Yeah.
She's very small. And we met together with some lawyer who brought us together in a coffee shop in the Bahnhofstrasse in Zurich.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I told her that I was the George Lazenby and Diana Rigg.
Right.
Wow.
That's fantastic. Have you been to many Bond reunions?
No, actually, only at least one reunion in 2019, I think.
Yeah, the 50th anniversary at Peace Glory.
Yeah, anniversary, yeah. There are only a few people alive.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, from these 5 girls.
Well, there's
6 girls, yeah. I
certainly
think they're living only 4.
I don't know whether you can see that, but can you see?
Yeah.
That's George. He's still alive. That's Terence Mountain, who I think was also there for Peace Gloria.
Yeah.
One of the henchmen.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are people.
So from the girls, there are only 4.
Yeah.
I think. This is the black girl.
Yes, Silvana. Yes.
With her son helping her around. And one of the girls is quite looks quite nice because and you know they put some handprints from mine. You know?
Yes, I've seen this. Yeah,
and they have a monument up at the Schildhorn.
Yes, I've seen that. I've been there.
And there was one of the girls, and you know I was getting quite close to her, but I had my girlfriend with me, and she said, "That's enough. That's enough."
Is this 5 years ago?
Yeah, but the other girls are very old one, you know. And
Joanna Lumley.
The blonde one, but she was very arrogant in 1969 because I was trying to talk with her. She's also wide, you know, and old, and it's a bit. We're lucky that there's not a woman around here to listen to us.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah, and Lazenby is a tragedy.
Yeah, well, he's retired now, hasn't he, from appearances? I think he's been unwell, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I got. He's got this Swedish manager, Yeah. And he was writing me that George just retired to a veteran house in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah.
That he's not anymore in the public anymore. No?
Yeah.
Very sad.
Shame, isn't it? Really.
But you know, all this guy, Hubert Fröhlich died, I think, in 2003, because I met his widow. She's living near Munich, and I was on, because my sister stays there, and I was visiting her, and but there are only a few around now. No? Peter Hunt is he
John
died.
Glenn is still alive.
Yeah, they're all gone, actually.
Did you have any further contact with Diana Rigg after?
Yes, because it was funny. You know, when the Swiss, the cable car company was contacting me for this anniversary, for this 50-year anniversary, I was talking with a Swiss guy, and asked him what happened with Diana Rigg. Is she also coming? And I'm really looking forward to seeing her again. And he told me no, she will not come. And I said, no, why not? Yeah, no, she's not very enthusiastic about it, and she don't. And then I said, yeah, I will talk to her, and she can't be a problem. She will come. So I got a number from her. There was a manager from a theater. Yeah. So not movie business, from a theater, actually, because I think she was playing on the stage of a theater, Shakespeare and stuff like this. No? And then I was talking to her, and then at first it took a long time until she knows whoever. And I said, oh, Erich, let's go in the car. So I said, yes, of course, we'll soon have snow in, you know. And but then she said that she's very ill.
Yeah.
And she has a problem for doing these theater roles. And I think 2 years later, she was dead.
Yes, she did. Yeah. It is very sad.
What, 2020 or something?
2020.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Going on, huh?
Yeah. Oh,
what a marvelous lady.
Yeah.
Charming lady, full of humor.
Oh. Yes, she is. Yeah.
I mean, for us Austrian, she had this dry British humor.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, just with a serious face, she's saying something, and you nearly explode for laughing. But she was really great. I mean, Lazenby was a very arrogant guy. Also at this meeting, he was the superstar is now coming, and he was drunk from early in the morning. And it was incredible.
But Diana Rigg, for me, is still the greatest James Bond woman. There's never been anyone better than her, and her character and her performance as well.
That's right. I mean, because Diana Rigg was the sort of playing the role of an intelligent, still pretty, very erotic woman with very good humor.
Yes.
Even in this John Steed films.
Yeah, the Avengers.
Yes. I mean, she was a great lady, really.
But I think it adds something to it that she's the one driving the McGann, because usually it's James Bond who drives the cars, but it's the fact that Diana Rigg's doing it that gives her that extra steel.
That's right. Yeah, because that's right. She was driving the car. She was, okay, let's go there and do this and do that. No?
Yeah, well, that scene is quite important because it's Bond realizes just what an amazing woman she is, and he sort of kisses her when she's driving, and it's shortly before that he proposes to her, of course.
That's right.
But it's quite a big scene, not just because of the lovely stunts and the cars, but the story. It's quite an important scene as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Turn left. That crowd might discourage them.
And of course it was. I mean, it was the only story actually where the major woman got killed.
Yeah, I know.
I don't remember any other.
No,
Because
no.
the later Bond film I didn't see so much, because for me Bond film was Connery.
Oh, right, okay.
And it was, and you must imagine 1960,
Yeah.
61, it was a complete new era of film.
Yes.
I mean, nobody know. Everyone I keep telling them that the case, we carry in the office.
Yeah.
Not bags, the case was actually invented by Bond. Did you know this?
Oh, right.
It was not before. There were no manager, no one in the world was having this case.
Yeah,
the small one. I don't know how to call it in English.
The attaché case.
Yes, yeah. I mean, before we had this bag, the leather bag.
Yeah.
But then came the case, and this came with Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And I remember, and it was Samsonite, and I remember a film clip in cinema making promotion for Samsonite. There was an aeroplane coming from the British Airways down to Heathrow, and was cutting out the wheels. And then a case was falling out, bum, 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 and then it stopped. And then the airplane stopped somewhere on the horizon. And all of a sudden there came British gentleman, with the hat and the umbrella and nicely. And it was going, they said, "Oh, here's my Samsonite." And it was taken up in a way.
I have to look at
65 or 66, something, huh? Because I started to go to England, I think, with the Londoner Racing Car Show. The first time I was, I think, 1961, 62. From then on, I was very often in England for the races and the Londoner Racing Car Show. This was the first meeting of the whole world of motor racing was meeting in January or February at the Londoner Racing Car Show. You saw Colin Chapman, Graham Hill, Jim Clark, everyone, Jack Brabham.
Incredible.
Cup of tea.
When you sort of signed up to the film, were you expecting Sean Connery to be Bond?
No.
You did know it was him?
No, because it was already in the newspapers that Connery quit.
Yeah.
With 07, but anyway, he did one more.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
After. But in those days, it was Connery quit, and then it was George Lazenby.
Yeah.
And Telly Savalas was quite famous on the continent.
Yeah.
And Diana Rigg, of course, everybody know from this Umbrella. And series. It's called in German Schirm, Charme und Melone. Umbrella, Charming, and this Melone, this hat.
Bowler hat. Yeah.
They had this series on TV in Germany and in Austria.
In the actual scene, is it right that when the car flips over, we see upside down?
Yes, but this is a fake, because I remember that when I rolled the car, that the camera came off.
Right. Okay.
So they made this thing, but nobody saw it actually. No?
Yeah.
I think it looks like they've turned the film upside down, haven't they? To make it look like the car is upside down.
Yes, that's right.
It's like they sort of twisted it over,
John Glenn, isn't he?
I got one of the conventional shots and turned it upside down so it looked as though he was travelling on the roof. Just a simple editing trick, but it got a good laugh in the cinema.
In this northern corner, I put a piece of wood frozen into the ice. It was about 4 to 4 inches in cross section. And 5 foot or 10 foot long, and they put it in the ice in the right angle to the track, and I drifted the escort sideways, and then I rolled it.
Oh.
It comes out brilliantly, I think.
But the speed was what, 50 miles an hour or something like this. Huh?
Slow for you, Eric.
You must imagine in Le Mans, we did all the speed in reality speed.
Yeah.
Steve said, no, we don't make fake on the real speed. I remember he always said, oh, guys, I want the real thing. Oh shit!
But even though you say all this about this was fake, this was slower, this is perfect filmmaking.
Yeah.
The stunts are incredible. Yeah. The editing and the directing of this is incredible. The whole film is like so frantic, and it's building up, and that car chase only increases how frantic the film is, and only increases the tension.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got to say, I'm not just saying this. This is one of my favorite films of all time. We Have All the Time of the World at my wedding, and both Tom and Chris can talk about how much they love it as well. And you are a massive part of that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it was. I mean, it was a great time. I mean, when Peter Hunt and I we met and then go for a coffee, and he asked, yes, but do you think when a race is, how could this accident be? No? And I said, the last crash of the Mercedes. No? Yeah. I mean, there must be a realistic reason why we roll the cars. And I mean, that this car is exploding after it. I mean, this is completely rubbish because this was a diesel car. And if you're not putting 3 hand grenades in there and they explode at the same time, there's no Mercedes in the whole world is exploding.
But it's cinema.
Ridiculous.
It looks good.
It's cinema.
Everybody was happy. The car is coming. I push her. Diana Rigg in the film waving her head. Bam, goes into the barrier, chop up, woof. And the funny thing is actually that between when the car was upside down, laying there, it started to snow.
Oh, right.
So the explode was actually 6 or 7 days later.
Oh, okay, right.
And we had the special effect man by sSecretService was his name. sSecretService. He was the Peramone, the guy who was working on the fire. Yeah. And he was also working in the film The Battle of England or The Battle of London. The
Battle of Britain
stuff. Yeah. So sSecretService. The funny thing was, the car was laying there for days. Was covered with nylon sheets, that there was no snow in it, and we cleaned it. And then he put hand drillers. You know what I mean? These electric hand drillers. And where you put the driller in front of it, this was pressed to the tire. Yeah, okay. Then he switched it on. Then the hand driller started, and then the wheels were moving. Yeah. You can imagine what I mean?
Yeah.
So, okay. And then he was putting some nylon bags on the car with igniters in there, and, to make it explode.
Yeah.
So we were crawling into the car, and then 5, 3, get out! And we get down, boom, and the car was exploding behind us. We were running out.
Just incredible.
Scene,
But so dangerous.
Harmless. But the cameraman said, we have to do it again. Why? Are you crazy? No, we have to do it again. Because the flames are going up to the lights, the strong lights.
Yes,
and it was getting too dark.
Right.
So we have to do it again. Okay. Everybody into the car, nylon bags on there, and then Sess was so clever that he was steering the flames actually. So he was steering it more flat away from the lights.
Yeah.
That the light was keeping it bright. No? And then we were going into there. 3, 2, out! Boof! Yeah, but I mean, nowadays all the action is going, with a blue wall. Nobody is
it is
us anymore, or jumping down from the second floor, stuff like this. No? They had a film here in Vienna with Tom Cruise at the Staatsopera.
Oh yes,
yeah. He was jumping down.
Rogue Nation was that?
Yes, sort of. And they invited me, of course. Stuntman James Bond here, watch, and Tom Cruise. Oh, you're nice to meet you. And then he was coming down in very slow motion on the rope, but in the film he was falling in deadly speed. So.
Wow!
And then they told me they do everything behind the so-called blue wall. Yeah. And so they can do all action films, everything. No? So no problem.
Well, there's not even model.
Now you see me.
See you now.
Now you see me live. Bald old guy.
It's been wonderful, Erich. Thank you for chatting to us. I feel like we've been transported back to what it was like back in the late 60s, the peak mania, where everything was possible, life was amazing. You're in a beautiful part of the world, driving cars, beautiful women.
It was unbelievable. You must imagine that also from the Le Mans film. In the evening when we were ready with shooting, they put the film not to Paris, to London in the lab, and after 4 days it was coming back. And in the evening we saw there was a large tent, was the same as James Bond film. We were looking, and then the director said, no, we cannot use it, we have to do it again, but 4 or 5 days later. So I mean it was unbelievable in time, But for me it was a great adventure. And it's when we met in Switzerland, it was really, they picked me up with a Rolls Royce from the airport.
Oh.
With my girlfriend, we were landing, and she this car is not for us. I said, no, but he just said to me, Erich. It was very nice to meet, to see these people again, There were some of the Swiss staff were there, who was organizing the restaurant and the food every evening. And so I think the same guys were then also in Le Mans at the
okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Plenty of them were there. I just see on my desk you might.
Oh right! Whoa!
Oh no, Erich!
Oh yeah!
Oh yes! Look at that!
That's my Mini.
Oh,
that's it.
We've been texting
I was
each other.
racing it.
I've got the Mercury and the Mercedes downstairs.
Yes. That's a Mini.
Oh,
anything.
You were racing that?
I got this was a standard Austin Mini.
Right.
And we worked on the wheels suspension, and then in England I got me a Formula 3 engine, a Holby engine, but the Formula 3 in those days were with one carburetor, was a 1000 cc engine, Ford Anglia engine actually with a short stroke, and I had 2 Weber double carbs on it. And the car had 110, 120 horsepower. I mean, in those days, it was going. I overtook everyone.
Yeah.
I remember one day I was going with a girlfriend down to Styria over the pass port of Semmering, which is between Styria and Vienna, and with a Mini, it was going always flat out. And then we were driving like this on this pass road, and there was a long right-hander, a very fast one, and I was throwing the car into it in third gear flat out, and then there was water coming from the left side, and then the car spun, and then I caught it, and I was driving, I continued, I said nothing, and she was sitting near me and was saying, I know what your ageist you are. If I am dying, you wouldn't care.
Oh, really?
Hear about your life. This was my Mini.
Oh,
Bond film.
Amazing.
He was also the camera car. On the rear of the Mini, we built an equipment to have the eye reflex on it.
Yeah.
And in those days, I'm not sure whether you remember, there was Willy Bogner.
Yes, Willy Bogner. Yeah.
Willy Bogner was laying in this car.
Oh wow, amazing.
And there was the driver, and we had the seat mounted out, and there was Bogner, and he was shooting out of the rear.
You've given us real gold, Eric.
Yeah,
you're a fabulous guy to chat to.
Unbelievable.
Great meeting you.
Hearing your story. Yeah.
Maybe when I'm in England.
Yes. Yeah.
Love to see you.
We're around. Yeah.
We go for a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Good girl.